Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Vasavi Kumar, who's here to share with us her new book, Say It Out Loud, Using the Power of Your Voice to Listen to Your Deepest Thoughts and Courageously Pursue Your Dreams. So Vasavi Kumar is a life coach and licensed therapist with a myriad of in-person, print, televised, and social media experience. A first-generation Indian American growing up on Long Island and diagnosed with bipolar disorder at the age of 19, she learned to become extremely self-aware and take action to create the life she wanted for herself. So let's welcome to the show, Vasavi Kumar.
Hey, Marianne, thank you so much for having me here.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about your book. What inspired you to write this?
Wow. Well, I was inspired to write this book because I know that there are so many people who aren't kind to themselves inside of their minds. I was one of those people. And so when I was presented the opportunity to write the book, I knew that this was what I was going to write about, which was to help people be kinder to themselves and understand their minds on a deeper level.
So what was the point that had you looking at this as maybe a topic or something that needed to be changed in your life?
From the time that I was a kid, growing up in pretty much in an all-white town, I'm the daughter of Indian immigrants, to, just really never feeling like I fit in, to, getting involved with drugs and alcohol at a very young age and substances, but still being able to accomplish so much, which was getting, 2 masters. I volunteered in India. I became a plant-based chef, a coach, a licensed therapist. Like, I've accomplished so many things, but I've also had this very dark side to me. And I've been able to balance both. I was able to balance both of those. And that is no sustainable way to live. And I know that there are so many people out there who are juggling this persona, and inside they're suffering in silence. I knew I wasn't the only one. And because of a lot of the stuff that I've been through, like drugs and alcohol and going to rehab twice, and, just having to really face myself in a brutally honest manner, I know I'm not the only one struggling,
Oh gosh, you're not.
Yeah. So that's why I wrote this book. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you did, and you're so brutally honest about what it is that you've been through, and I appreciate that, because it's true. There's so many people that are really struggling to kind of keep that facade together, and how difficult is that?
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. And as someone who has done it, and, I hats off to me, I did it quite well. You know what I mean? I was pretty good at putting up the facade until I was no longer able to. So now I know that the greatest freedom is to be able to be one person wherever you go. And you don't have to put on a facade and juggle all these masks. So I do think it's my duty and obligation, and one that I'm so honored to have, to be able to write this book to help other people.
So in your book, you talk about, and you've been speaking about it here, saying our thoughts out loud. So why do we do it that way?
Well, if we're not speaking our thoughts out loud, okay, if we're not speaking our thoughts out loud, they're just in our head, and they're just in our head, and they're just in the background of what we're thinking and how we're feeling, and we're not actually getting it out. We're just keeping it in our minds. It's just doling around, right? Doling around in the dome. And we need our brains to work sharp. We don't need our mind to be focused on stuff and saying things to us that are unkind and mean. We want to feel safe up there. We want to feel motivated in our minds. We don't want our minds to attack us. We want our minds to motivate us. And so the only way you can really work on something and really acknowledge it and do something about it is by seeing it, hearing it, feeling it. You have to actually feel what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. So when you say the mean things that you say to yourself out loud, you can't unhear it. You're forced to have to listen to how you speak to yourself. Once you listen to how you speak to yourself internally, and you're like, can't believe I talk like that to myself, you can't unhear it. You have to do something about it. Because if you don't, that means that you are now your own abuser. And then you have no one to blame but yourself at that point. for how your life looks and how you feel on a day-to-day basis.
I think a lot of people can really identify with that. And my goodness, being our own abuser, it sounds like almost many of us have in many ways been conditioned to do that.
Yeah. And I know that may sound harsh, but when I think about the people in my life who have hurt me the most, yes, they may have said stuff. Yes, they may have done stuff, but the person who's hurt me the most is me, because I ignored my intuition when it said to me, stay away from that person. They don't have your best interests at heart. When my intuition said to me, you know what, that guy is just using you. He doesn't really love you. When my intuition said to me, you can't trust that person. They don't, they're not loyal, and every single time I questioned myself, and I shouldn't have. And all of this is to say is that when we become honest with ourselves and we start seeing ourselves as the person that we need to develop the most trust with, we really start to lose interest in what everyone else thinks about us. You start becoming more concerned about the voices that are in your head versus what everyone else is thinking of you, because you can't control what other people are thinking of you. You could try, but it would require you having to water yourself down and molding yourself. And that's no way to live.
And then that's also like a never ending pit as well, in many ways, because we can never make everybody happy. We just have to make ourselves happy.
No. Yeah. I mean, exactly. We can never make anyone happy. You cannot make every single person happy. I mean, here's the thing. You actually can make every single person that you meet happy, but it would force you to have to not be yourself in order to do it, because you're molding yourself. And then at that point, who are you?
In your book, you talk about leaking our power. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that we have areas in our life and we have ways of thinking and we have ways of being and how we live our life and our habits, and that essentially leak power. From when we say we're going to do something and we don't do it, we're leaking power. When we say, okay, I'm going to be strong this time and I'm going to say no, even though, I may have had a tendency in the past to be a people pleaser and say yes. And then you're presented with an opportunity and you do the same thing all over again. You say yes instead of saying no. You leak power. You leak power in the most minute of ways, like when you want to get up and just maybe walk a few thousand steps in the morning before you start your day, and you're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Every time you say yes to the world and no to yourself, you leak power, period.
Well, that is a very powerful thing to think about. And one of your chapters really stuck with me, and it's talk to your triggers out loud. And my goodness, you say, answer this out loud. What are some of the things that instantly fill you with anger, anxiety, I'm probably messing this up, fear, and other unpleasant feelings? So why would we do that?
We're doing that because we, especially as women, are taught to not get triggered. We are taught to do everything with a smile. And I grew up with a mother who was very irritable. So I actually grew up with a mother who gave herself full permission to be triggered all the time. Now, that obviously came with its own baggage, because growing up with a mother who was always irritable and quite frankly, borderline, you know what I mean? It was not easy. And so I think that is why so many women really do gravitate towards me, because I am someone that has no problem admitting if something annoys her, right? I don't explode like the way my mother used to, but one thing I took from my mother is that it's okay to say that you're annoyed. It's okay to feel irritated by something, because she openly was an irritable person. My mother was not the kind of woman that's like, everything's fine over here. No, if she was upset, we knew she was upset. So I didn't grow up with like the kind of fake, like two-faced type of thing. Like if my mother was upset, I knew she was upset. And so I love writing that chapter. And I think that's a fan favorite, because we do not give ourselves permission to say, you know what, I'm really pissed off right now. You know what, I'm really annoyed that you did that. Like we're like, oh, it's okay. We find reasons and excuses so that we do not have to sit with the discomfort of how we feel based on whatever happened. And all that does is it just makes you more and more fake, to be honest. It keeps you very fake, and it keeps you very bottled up. And I'm not saying that you have to explode and say, this is the most annoying thing ever, and just make this big drama about it, but at least acknowledge it the way you want to acknowledge it, right? In the way that you want to acknowledge it, that you're annoyed. Like allow yourself to be triggered. and allow yourself to be triggered, and then be like, all right, what can I learn from this? Like, what's really going on inside of me? What is this trying to teach me here? But also in the chapter, I say, do not go straight to trying to find the lesson. You got to actually sit with, how does it feel to be so annoyed right now? How does it feel to be so triggered by this thing? Whatever, just feel it, calm, cool down. And then you can kind of get to the bigger lesson here,
Do you find that most people want to try to get through that part as quickly as possible so they're not really sitting with the emotions?
10 out of 10. Most people do not like sitting with the discomfort of being triggered. Who does? But I think there's a certain yumminess. It's kind of juicy, when you really start to see your triggers as information, like, ooh, what's going on here? Ooh, I'm feeling a little jealous right now. Ooh, I'm feeling a little triggered by this person's tone of voice. Oh, what's going on? Like, you start to get really curious about yourself. Oh, you'll learn so much about yourself in a fun way. Instead of being like, oh, I'm triggered. It's like, oh my God, like everyone is so scared of triggering and being triggered. It's like, why don't we use that as information to understand ourselves rather than censoring other people? I don't need to censor myself because you don't know how to handle your triggers. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, yes, be intentional about the words you use. Like, you focus on you and your emotional regulation. Don't focus on censoring me. And so if we all became more comfortable with being with our own triggers, we would not be so triggered by everyone else, and we wouldn't be trying to control everybody else rather than getting a control over our own emotions.
Well, and that would seem kind of counterproductive to actually working on ourselves, where we're trying to get everyone else to shape up to what we think would be the way we want them to treat us, as opposed to dealing with our own personal issues, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, here's the thing. Okay. There's a standard by which I treat myself. I talk to myself with the utmost respect. I treat myself with the utmost dignity and integrity and honesty and care. Some days I can be a real to myself. I'm not going to lie. If I'm feeling impatient, I'm going to be impatient with the world, and I'm going to be impatient with myself, but I have grace with myself on those days. And those days are not very frequent anymore. But if we treat ourselves a certain way, and I have a certain standard, right? And when I'm in the presence of somebody else, if they don't treat me the way that I treat myself, I don't make a big deal about it. I'm like, listen, they clearly they didn't get the assignment. Like, this is how I'm treated. I can walk away from that situation. I don't need to control you to tell you how to treat me. Treating me well means that I walk away. Treating me well means that I communicate my boundaries, but I'm not in the business of trying to control people and try to force people to respect me. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
That's our job to do with ourselves.
Yeah. Like, if you don't respect me the way that, so like, I have a standard, like, even when I'm dating, right? And by the way, I'm not dating at all right now, but if I were, I have a certain way that I want to be treated by the man that is courting me, that is dating me. And if I meet someone who doesn't do that, and it's just not pleasurable for me, I'm not going to try to mold that person. I'm going to communicate my expectations, my boundaries. And if they cannot do that, then bye. Why try to change one person when we literally have 8 billion people on this planet? There are plenty of people out there you can match with,
Oh, yes. People show us who they are, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just learning how to listen to what they're telling us.
Yeah. And then also not taking it personally. If someone doesn't give you the respect that you believe that you deserve, it is not a reflection of you. It is not. If I've ever treated someone with disrespect, it's because of my feelings towards them. And it could be because of who they are and what they did, but it's still something in me that is forcing me to treat that person that way. So you should never take it personally when someone disrespects you, but you need to not be in that situation anymore, period.
So, how do we go about owning our own flaws? What are some ways we can do that?
Number one, like, give yourself the permission to be human. I am very flawed. And I think it's funny almost. It's funny because I used to have such a high standard for like, oh, I need to be kind of, because I'm an author or I'm a coach, I have to be a certain way. I have to be perfect. And it's like, what does that even mean? I dropped that maybe 5 years ago when I was just like, this is a lot, trying to be this person. And it made me unrelatable. It made me not relate to people. because I was trying to put myself on this pedestal. Like, why did I create this pedestal for me to be on? And so for me, it's really been liberating to own my flaws. It's been very liberating for me to look at my contradictions. It's liberating to look at like the way that I sometimes show up. And so when someone points something out to me, I don't get offended by it. Like I've been called aggressive. There was this reel that came out, okay, and it has at least like 500,000 views on it. And one of the people in the comments was like, "She's so aggressive, blah 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 blah," right? And I got hurt for a second because I've been told my whole life I'm too much, okay, and so someone calls me aggressive. Ooh, that hit a nerve. But if I'm being honest with myself, my delivery can be aggressive for some. For some, they will feel completely alive in my quote unquote aggressive nature. Some people will feel extremely attacked being around me. Every person is going to have a different experience of me. Someone's going to call me aggressive. The other person's going to call me assertive. Another person's going to say I've changed their life. You cannot get upset with what people say about you. You got to just own it though. Am I a little aggressive? To some, I may be. So yes, that's how you own your flaws. Yes. Can you see why someone may say this about you? Yes. Because this is not about being right or wrong about how someone views you. It's just seeing that it's there rather than resisting that, oh, I could have no part of this. That's you resisting it. Owning it is to take an honest look at yourself. Can I come off as aggressive? Absolutely. Get it? So.
Yeah, you'll definitely have the people who need to listen to your message resonate with you. And I
Yes.
mean, there's somebody out there for everybody, the way I look at it. So
Absolutely. And this other woman wrote in this comment, "You're too much for me. Lower your level." That's what she said. Lower your level and your frequency. And I just laughed to myself and I was like, "No, lady, I don't tone down for you. I don't tone down for you. This is who I am. This is one part of who I am. I can also be very soft-spoken." That's the thing with social media. People see one video, they think that's all of you, and they don't realize that there's so many different parts to us. And that's what the book is really about. Say It Out Loud is really about embracing, owning all these different parts of you. The part of you that wants to be triggered, the part of you that has, the part of you that is flawed. There are many parts of us that are flawed. There's, the part of us that dreams really big. So it's really about the permission slip to bring all the parts of you together.
And to kind of dovetail with that, do people really have a hard time expressing what they really want to dream about or what they want in their lives?
Yeah, I run this group and our next round is in September, actually. It's called Bold Voice. And I do this with a bunch of, colleagues, and it's a paid vocal voice training group because I am a voiceover artist as well as a therapist. But whenever I have the people in my group share what they want out loud, I really work with them to stop diminishing what they want before they even say it. So one of the women that was in my group, she wanted to be a pianist. She plays piano at like fancy hotel bars here in Austin, Texas. And she goes, "Oh, I know this may sound silly, but," and I was like, "Can you please not preface your dream with, I know this may sound silly, but," I'm like, "Can you please not be a wet blanket on your dreams?" And so that's the kind of work that we're doing. You're not only saying out loud and being bold about what you want, you're also being trained on how to speak. Because think about it. We are not trained how to speak. We're actually just taught to be parrots. We're not taught how to speak. We're taught to be parrots. And I don't want people to be parrots. I want everyone in my group that is in my presence to be uniquely them. Because I can tell when people aren't being themselves. I can tell when they're being boxed up. I can tell when they're a little frozen. I can tell when they're just holding back. And I'm like, why? Be more of you. Can we get some passion? Can we get some personality up here? And so that's really what my program is about. It's about being bolder, using your voice, being a part of a community. Anyone who joins a group called Say It Out Loud or Bold Voices, they've got something to say, and they got more of them that they want to bring to the table. So this is really my goal ultimately with all the work that I'm doing.
So for people who they're just having a hard time finding what sparks their life, how do you work with them through that?
What I would say is to bring passion to everything that you are already doing. So whether it's you making your bed and you want to make your bed extra nice, or you want to maybe start a new face routine and you want to put some oomph in your morning routine, Instead of doing more, bring passion, bring the spark to whatever you're doing right now. And don't wait for the spark. Be the spark. Don't wait for the spark. Be the spark. So how do you do that? Do things that spark you up inside. What are you doing to spark yourself up, So that's what I would suggest.
In your book, you talk about choosing yourself in the morning. What does that mean?
That means that in the morning, you don't deal with anyone other than yourself. You got to make sure you put time aside just for you to rejuvenate, for you to pour into you. Even if it's like for my people out there who have children, right? Can you wake up a little earlier than your kids? Can you spend time to, can you ask your partner to take over in the morning? Like, what can you do to be responsible for yourself? What can you do to be responsible for your mental health instead of saying, oh, it's because I have kids, I can't. No, you had a whole life before you had children. So what were you doing to take care of yourself before you had kids? You probably weren't. Or if you did, it was not very sturdy or set in stone for you. It wasn't very consistent. It wasn't ritualistic. You have an opportunity now to start taking care of yourself and be the example for your children. So take 15 minutes, do your face, make your coffee. If you want to, if you want to read a devotional book or something, whatever it is, right? Like a daily motivational reader, do something, 15 minutes. You can't give yourself 15 minutes in the morning, so this is not a time issue. This is a worth issue. You are worth the 15 minutes. That's what I would suggest. And it's important that you do that because you are literally pouring out to other people and they deserve the best parts of you and you deserve to feel that way too.
How about those folks that hear, well, you're selfish for spending that time on yourself every day?
You know what I would say? Well, sooner or later, that tiredness of yours is going to spill out in the form of resentment, snippy comments on the people around you. That's pretty selfish if you ask me.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how important is having a sense of a higher self as you're working through this process of being able to really own your voice and own yourself?
I think it's important. I think spirituality and creating some sort of God of our understanding, so it doesn't matter what the religion is or whatever, having some sort of connection with a higher version of yourself keeps you grounded, but also keeps you looking bigger, in terms of how much more can you be? If you look at some of our biggest performers out there, the Beyoncés, the Rihannas, the Lizzos, like you just look at Aerosmith, you just about all these great performers. It takes a lot to be out on stage and really be able to hold that kind of space. And I really do believe that requires a relationship with something really big, and like I said, it's a God of your understanding. So I think it's very important. Nothing that I do is done without the approval of God of my understanding. Nothing that I do is without the green light of God. I talk to God throughout the day. I'm constantly consulting with the God within myself. I wouldn't be where I am today without a God of my understanding because I am extremely limited as a human being. So I need something bigger than myself, higher than my human self to carry me through all the challenges that we as human beings face.
So what are some ways we can set the tone for having a day that supports us?
I would do two things. Block off a day just for you and have no agenda. None. And observe how you choose to spend your time. From that observation, notice, wow, I spent a lot of time on my phone. Wow, I spent a lot of time just watching TV. Wow, I noticed when I have nothing on my agenda, this is how I spend my time. Man, I just drank a lot of beer. Man, I just sat and basically just worked all day. That shows you how you spend your time when you have no agenda. From there, try again. Create a day that's so simple yet powerful. And it can be, okay, I'm going to get a massage today. I'm going to take a nice walk. Maybe I'm going to make myself some nice blueberry pancakes. What is it? Like, allow yourself to think outside of your routine, but do it first with no agenda. See how you spend your day. Use that observation and then create a second day and have it be more spacious and fun.
And so when we're doing this, what are we looking to really identify between the 2 days?
I think what's really important for you to observe in those 2 days is Number one, how you spend your time when you don't know what to do with it, because that'll show where you still need direction and clarity in your life. And number two, when you redo the day, you can look to see how well you know yourself and how well you really know to bring yourself joy and pleasure in your life. Now that you have some information, right? And then you could try again and you could try again. How much effort do you put into your day when you now have the knowledge of the first time you did it, right? It shows a lot of things. It shows about effort. It shows about curiosity. It shows about willingness, how special you think you are. Like for me, if I were to do this exercise, which I have done, so I noticed that on the days that I had no agenda, I spent a lot of time still working. And so I was like, no, we're not living like this. So then the next day, I was in Mexico actually at the time. I was just there for a month. I rented a bicycle. Had a beautiful beach ride. Then I dipped in the ocean and then I went and got smoothies. And then I came back and was up at the pool, reading a book, listening to music. Like I just really enjoyed my surroundings, but I needed to have the experience of what it was like before for me to do this. But what I noticed about myself is I prioritized my pleasure that day. You want to be the kind of person that prioritizes their pleasure, because if you do not prioritize your pleasure, you're going to be having to prioritize the pain, because you haven't given yourself enough happiness, joy, and pleasure in your life. And you can't have too much of one thing in your life. It can't just be work, 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 work all the time, you know?
It seems like most people kind of fall within that category, and I'm guilty myself, where if we don't have anything to do, especially if you're self-employed, it's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to keep working. And that whole section of, well, where's my happiness starts to fall away.
Yeah, my book came out May 16th. I have a condo in Playa del Carmen, and I said, I need to get off the grid for a month. So I went to Mexico, June 16th to July 17th. Best decision. Whenever I work with clients and I work with people and they're speaking and stuff like that, and I say to them, like, you're boring to listen to, and like, you hire me for the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. You're boring to listen to, right? And they get all flustered and whatever. And I say, well, what do you do for fun? And I was like, they don't do anything for fun. I go, well, you're boring. You're boring. Your delivery is boring. Your words, everything you say is robotic. You can tell that you don't have a life outside of your business. Like, you need to have stuff to fuel you so that you show up more powerfully in your business, whether you're a podcast host, a coach, a marketer, whatever it is. So that's the kind of stuff, straight up, that I work with people, because what I realize is it's not so much that you're not a good communicator or that you're not good at what you do. It's that your personal life has taken such a back seat that you have no personality anymore. You've just become this like neck up operating business owner, and people can feel that through the camera. People can feel that through the earbuds. I narrated my audiobook, Say It Out Loud. And God, I'm a trained voiceover artist, but I've gotten so much great feedback on the audiobook. And I listened to this other person's audiobook. She has a huge following on Instagram. I could not listen to it. She sounded like a robot. And that's fine, that's fine. But my point is, it's like, our words carry vibration. And so if you're using your voice and your written word as your vehicle and your instrument to convey your message, and you're wondering why your message isn't landing, why it's not sticking, like, how come people aren't like, how come I'm just not having fun? How come my videos aren't getting a lot of engagement? It's like, well, watch your stuff and read your stuff. Would you be interested in what you have to say? No, if you're not even hooked on what you have to say, then think about what it's like for somebody else. This is why we need to have more fun in our life.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah. I know when people are around me, they wake up, and I know that. And I know the energy and the presence that I bring. I am completely aware of the energy that I bring when I walk into a room, because I work at it. This energy that I have is not just like 10 cups of coffee. I have 1 cup of coffee a day. Okay. This is pure God energy. I am running on something bigger than myself. I'm running on my play, my purpose, my pleasure. It's very important that we are having fun in our life, and we're having those magical moments with ourselves.
Oh my goodness. What just a profound book your book is. Say It Out Loud. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Thank you so much for asking. So I'm on Instagram at My Name is Vasavi. My Name is Vasavi is the handle. I do have a program coming out September 7th called Bold Voice. It is a 6-month voice and self-expression training program. If you're listening to this after September and you want to join, you can still join. Just email my team at vasavikumar.com. And yeah, my website, all thing Vasavi is at vasavikumar.com.
Well, Vasavi, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
And also, Marianne, I forgot to say the book is available everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the places.
This book is also available at the publisher, New World Library, so make sure to check out newworldlibrary.com. We're going to pause here for a quick moment, and we'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
With Breath Hub, you'll experience the transformative power of breath as it harmonizes your body, mind, and spirit. Recommended by experts in fitness, sports, psychology, and medicine. Meet the scientific way of being well. Breath Hub. Breathe better, live better.
Are you a coffee lover who wants to make a difference? Look no further than Fire Department Coffee, a veteran-owned business that gives back to support first responders in need. Each batch of coffee is freshly roasted right here in the USA by a dedicated team of first responders and coffee experts. So when you enjoy a cup of Fire Department coffee, you're not only drinking high-quality coffee, you're supporting members of your community. Start your day with a coffee that gives back. Visit firedepartmentcoffee.com. That's fire, D-E-P-T, coffee.com.
The book Terminal Cancer is a Misdiagnosis, authored by Danny Carroll, is on sale at Amazon now. Licensed psychologist and psychotherapist Tessa Antia-John-Guerra commented, "This is one of the most empowering books on a topic of cancer you will ever read." Award-winning author T.L. Needham commented, "This recommended book can be understood by anyone seeking answers, hope, and alternatives to a terminal diagnosis. Buy it now on Amazon.com.
Pandemonium. Fast forward 20 years. A U.S. president seizes control of all U.S. missiles, the power grid, the banking system, and every computer in America as he hides in an underground bunker. Pandemonium, a captivating sci-fi thriller where a hidden war, psychics, aliens, artificial intelligence, and transcendental love collide with the latest media technology. Pandemonium, live to all devices. Get your copy on paperback or digital. Free sample at getpsychic.org.
Hello, Dr. Cutler here. Do you experience bloating, heartburn, food craving, bowel irregularity, food sensitivities, weight issues? If you do not digest your food, you may be deficient in macronutrients, which your body needs for optimal health. DrEllenCutler.com teaches that this is an enzyme deficiency. I believe the most important supplement is a full-spectrum digestive enzyme, Dr. Ellen's Way Digestive Enzymes. Hear more about it at DrEllenCutler.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.